of the obstacles people seem to bump up against when planning their practical magical approach and deciding what kind of ritual, spell, or method or confection, magical confection that they will use for that spell is, I think, that people tend to think that the best approach is to find a single work that's kind of like a catch all that will accomplish this problem or solve this issue that you might have. In practice, I find that that's not really a good approach at all. And certainly from the point of view of a practical magician, someone who's doing spell work in order to accomplish some sort of real world result, I think a more diversified approach is useful. And for this, I want to use the example of chunking. Chunking is a tool that um, productivity people and coaches often use to get people motivated to accomplish a difficult task. And that is, of course, if you've got something looming over you, that's a big thing that you need to get done. There can be a lot of resistance, and it can kind of be this big blob of stuff that you just can't seem to move. You can't find the motivation, the energy, or find your way into the problem. Best way to approach that is, as they say, is the same as eating an elephant, which is one bite at a time. So for chunking, what you do is you break it down into steps. And you start then with the simplest step, the thing that's the easiest and the most logical to begin with, even if it's a small thing. And then you do that step, and then in succeeding with that simple thing, you get some momentum for the next step and the next step and the next step. And so you're able to break down something big and complex and confusing into smaller pieces. And I think this approach is, in fact, a much better way of solving a magical problem also. Uh, so, for example, if you have this project where you need to find a new apartment, let's say, and one might think, okay, well, I'm going to do a ritual to find a new apartment. And how do I do that? Which candle do I burn? What spell do I need for that? And thinking that a single work is going to be the best way to go. But you may find that, in fact, breaking up the issue into smaller pieces and then doing some spell work for each individual step is going to have a better result. So, for example, finding a new apartment, um, there might be several steps that are required there. The first step that comes to mind would be maybe there is some money that is needed for a deposit. And then, of course, maybe you actually need to find the physical apartment itself, something that is affordable. And then, of course, the question of the actual move, physically moving, getting your stuff and moving and so on, and making sure that that is smooth, that there are no obstacles, and that everything falls into place for the move itself. So you've got three parts there already. And instead of, say, burning one candle or doing one ritual for the whole shebang, you would break it down into three steps. You first do some spiritual work to ensure that you have enough money for a deposit. Then you would do some work to help you locate the perfect apartment in terms of its location, the actual that it meets the specifications for what you need. And then making sure that the move itself is possible, that there are no obstacles. So this would kind of be a road opening thing. And then you could do these in sequence. So you would start first with the thing that is the most logical to start with, or the thing that seems the easiest, and having that materialize, you then get some momentum for the next thing. Or even if you don't do them as a run or a series of works, and you do them simultaneously, you now have a way of sort of breaking up the symbolism of the magical work, right? And the rulerships. So, for example, the financial aspect itself, and looked at it through an astrological lens, we're working with Mercury or Jupiter there. Apartment, that's ruled by Saturn. Buildings, land, real estate, all these things are typically ruled by Saturn. And then the moving itself, having the energy or the drive to break through obstacles, Mars might be a good solution. And of course, now having some planetary astrological attributions, we have some ideas. Okay, we need to look at, working with the archangel Sachiel, Cassiel for the physical location, and then Mars to break through. So you have the energy, the willpower, the drive to break through obstacles and push it through, so you can get it to the finish line. And then of course, that might take the form of burning 3 vigils. You burn a vigil for Sachiel, Cassiel, and Kamael, let's say, right? If we're just doing it in a simple way, we're just going to burn some candles. But then we can of course see where is the heavy lift here, right? Maybe the heavy lift is the financial thing. Yeah, you really do not have money for a triple deposit or a double deposit or whatever the case may be. So we know, okay, now with this chunk, with this piece of the objective, we need to do something bigger. Maybe two candles is appropriate for having the breaking through obstacles and finding attracting or sort of locating an ideal real estate. But the real heavy lift is the finances, because you just don't have the income. So for this then, okay, we could say you need something more. You need to do a bigger ritual under the auspices of Jupiter, or some other work that's a bit more high end. And this is an approach that can work, of course, for a lot of different things. Um, uh, Even when it comes to, say, relationship work, reconciliation, you reconciling with your lover, you might think, oh, okay, that's just should be a single rite that draws them back to me. But even this can be broken up into different steps depending on what has gone wrong, depending on what the challenges there might be, right? Maybe you're just not in touch with that person anymore. You don't know where they are, or they're not speaking to you first. So communication, getting into contact, would be the first step in that piece. Then the second step in that piece, they may have a lot of grievances with you. Maybe there is a lot of anger and this sort of thing. And then the second step there would be to dissolve the grievances, something very forgiving, yeah, in that second step. And then the third step might be an actual attraction type spell. That's just an attraction work that draws the person back to you. So any objective, any goal, any magical project that we can think of, instead of simplifying it into one thing, by kind of drawing out the strands, the different threads, or the different chunks, and focusing on each chunk individually, and at the scale that is suited to that problem, you're going to get a much better overall result. Then, of course, any single step can be broken down into yet more steps. Yeah, any chunk could be broken up into smaller chunks, and each one of those chunks might suggest a different tool or magical approach. And this, of course, is especially relevant with really big complex goals, things that are really intensive, that starting a new business, yeah, or writing a new book, anything like that, where it's a complex goal with a lot of chunks. You may find that each chunk itself has several sub steps, several chunks within those chunks that you could focus on. And you can basically script a series or a run of steps, whether those are in the form of candles that kind of burn for each chunk, or rituals that you do for each chunk in a series, or whether you will sort of do a carpet bombing approach where you do all of the chunks simultaneously. Basically eliminate any of the hitches, where there could be sort of a hitch in manifesting your objective. And even if you just write it down by making a list and sort of doing bullet points and going step one, step two, step three, and then breaking each step up as you might do with a to-do list, uh, you, by thinking through it more clearly in that way, you'll be able to devise a magical strategy and apply magical tools that are suited to each step. Yeah, even if it means just burning a candle for each thing, but uh, but but probably more will be needed. Probably more obvious solutions will leap out at you because you can be a little bit more granular about it. You can focus more on each individual challenge where the weak spot is, and you can make sure that you kind of tackle the whole of the issue instead of it being this amorphous blob. Remember to like or to subscribe. You can hit the subscribe bell. You can check out my website where I have magical services, I do readings, I have courses. Check out my new book, The Divine Gypsy Mother, and I've got a card set that goes with that book. You can see that at scarletimprint.com. And of course, you can always buy me a coffee to say thanks if you enjoyed this tip. And yeah, see you on the flip side.